Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another open discussion and various topics class number 129. Just trying to wait for a few more people to join us on the live stream. So we'll probably wait a couple more minutes and then we'll begin. All right, let's go ahead and open up with reciting Prayer for Spiritual Workers. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their limitations, would smite me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their weakness, would not heed me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their ignorance, would defile you through me. And I ask, Almighty God, O wondrous power, that your strength may be given to me now, so that I might be fortified by this, so that I might go forward bravely into the world, and despite reception, send forth my love of thee throughout all races of man. Almighty God, give me the power and strength to rise above my karmic weakness, the deficiencies in the pattern of my evolution, so that I might evolve and become stronger, I, and even stronger in thy everlasting light. O God, thy will be done. All right, welcome everyone to another open discussion and various topics. As per usual, feel free to post any questions or comments you may have in the chat. And as we're going through today's discussion, we will gladly answer those questions or address those comments for you. Today, we will continue with our discussion on a life after death. But as I gave it some more thought, I felt it would be good to review the mystic constitution of man, i.e. the vehicles of expression that we use to connect and move through the realms. And then after a brief review of the mystic constitution, we'll dive a bit deeper into the realms, and as well as life on the realms, or life in between the realms, or life after the physical death. So I will be using the same diagrams and illustrations I'd shown last time, but just add a couple more from the Mystic Constitution lectures. Specifically, if you look back in the shared drive, Google Shared Drive folder, you will see in the 2021 and 2022 folders the same exact Mystic Constitution of Man diagrams that I'm going to go over today. So I specifically chose ones that were already in the folder and that were reviewed in previous classes, because it's just a review, not necessarily going to go in depth into the discussion about it. If you do want more detailed discussion and teaching on the Mystic Constitution, I would invite you to look at our playlist and some of our previous videos where Nehemiah goes into detail about the Mystic Constitution in several lectures, actually. He goes into detail about the Mystic Constitution, as well as specifically like in the Metaphysics 101 series, which we'll pick back up in a couple of weeks. I'm going to go through a transcript of that series and give everyone an opportunity to refresh themselves with the earlier lecture materials that we put out maybe 10, 11 years ago, and ask questions on that material if they were not able to attend back then. So to start off today's session, do we have any questions or comments? We do have a question that was emailed to us, and I'll get to that in a moment, but the floor is open. So if any questions, go ahead and post them in the chat. Or if you're not comfortable posting your questions during an open discussion session or publicly on the chat, you can email them to us and let us know if you would want us to answer them in a subsequent open discussion or answer the question privately. And we can do that for you. So as we wait for some questions to come in, let me open up the one that was emailed to us, and we'll start there. So the first question that was sent to us via email is, I have a question about how to feed a baby, whether to be vegetarian or meat eating. I know that Nehemiah grew up in a vegetarian family and is very clear about the benefits of vegetarianism. If we can live without sacrificing animals, then there is no reason to make them suffer. At the same time, there are quite strong arguments from other people about feeding them egg, yolks, meat, fish, etc., as these are good for building their young bodies. And they said there is some evidence that grains can't be digested when they are that young. I know you make no claims to be a nutritionist or pressure people into following a particular lifestyle, But I just wondered if you can give some insights, perhaps from a yogic perspective and from your own experiences as a child and as a parent.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Dwayne, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Am I coming in clear?
Yes, you're coming in clear.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. So that was a full state
Yeah, that was the full question.
person? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't, although yes, I was raised in a vegetarian family, I'm still a vegetarian. I never ate meat in my life. But I don't, the mystic way is to try to avoid killing life, animal life. But that's your choice. And sometimes circumstances lead to having to eat some meat. Now, the mystics, also the Theosophical Society, and a lot of the mystic yogis accepted what the Theosophical Society described because they studied multiple mystic orders. And they said that there's 3 types of vegetarians. And that's one that eat all vegetables, no dairy. And then the second one, you eat vegetables, but you eat dairy. And dairy includes milk, cheese, and eggs, I think. And then the third type of vegetarian is a vegetarian most egg, the fish, and the chicken. So those vegetarians that in theosophical belief systems. I went most of my life, and I was just eating vegetables. I think we didn't drink. We drank a little milk, not a lot of milk, but I didn't eat eggs until I was 20-some years old, either 19 or 20 when I was in college. So, but you know, it's up to you. I know people who tried to become vegetarians and became sick behind it. So you really have to know what you're doing if you want to take that lifestyle. And because especially in a society that eat mostly meats. So, it's not, all the necessary vegetables are not there. And as a baby, our parents, they, I grew up in a farm district, so they had access to a lot of fruit and vegetables and they used to make baby food for us. So, that's not convenient. Everyone doesn't have that. So, those are choices and things that you have to make on your own, whether you're a vegetarian or not a vegetarian, where you want to raise your kids as vegetarians. I started all my kids off as vegetarians, but today they not vegetarian. All of them not vegetarians. I think only 2 of them are vegetarians. Out of 5, only 2. I have 2 biological kids and I adopted 3 kids. So, and only 2 of them are vegetarians today. So it's up to your choice. I would say go vegetarian, but I wouldn't tell you that you have to do it. That's a choice you have to make, and you have to make a healthy choice in doing that. You have to make sure you have access to all the necessary nutrition, because it's very important. I think Sivananda, being a doctor too, Swami Sivananda being a doctor, he wrote a lot of books on that, old articles, and his students came behind him and wrote those things too. Because if you don't balance your diet properly, then you can end up with certain conditions. And believe it or not, they had yogis with certain conditions, hypertension, diabetes, all type of things, because of their diet, because they trying to be vegetarians and not balancing their diet out. So, I mean, and they wrote those books 20, 30 years ago. Some of them just rewrote some of them, or they just reprinted them for in the last 10 years or so, but this has been a problem. So that's why we tell you, you have to make the choice. And when you make the choice, make a healthy choice, do your due diligence to make sure that you are getting all the nutrition that you need. Because in a world where most people are eating meat, although it's changing a little bit, you don't have access to all the nutrition. You want to add something to that, Dwayne or Bernard?
I know you mentioned, for me, I also eat eggs. Well, since adopting a vegetarian diet, I cut out most dairy, even though sometimes I'll have cheese, but I do eat eggs, but no meat, no animal flesh.
No poultry either?
No poultry, no.
I think it's a really good endeavor and it's worth it. I think the benefits are unquestionable. I used to experiment on myself in terms of cutting things out once I went vegetarian and stopped eating red meat or chicken. I used to go back and forth between fish, dairy, and eggs. Really didn't feel any difference except when it came to dairy. Just be mindful to make sure that you get protein from vegetable sources, because I think it's important. It's overrated in terms of what it does for the body, but just make sure it's sourced from vegetable sources, because protein is essential. And dairy in the United States, because of what the cows on the go, I think it's probably one of the worst things you can put in your body.
Yeah.
There's like really no value to it. It's just really hype, marketing hype in terms of what milk does for the body. But that's just all marketing and sales. It's almost as bad as sugar, and that's because of the process of how milk is produced, not necessarily.
Yeah, the pasteurization.
Yeah, and the pasteurization and antibiotics and the feed that goes into the whole process makes it, I think, as bad as white sugar.
Yeah, I agree with that. But, like I said, everyone has to do their due diligence, and it's incredible. Also, Madame Blavatsky wrote several articles talking about vegetarianism. I would tell you it would do good to read it, and because it's really enlightening. And I can't remember the exact article, but I'm sure if you just cross-reference it in any search engine, you can find it. And she was very harsh on it. She said, if you can imagine every rise of the sun, that hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of chickens are being slaughtered. in order to nourish us. And hundreds of thousands of all type of animals, pigs, cows, are being killed on a daily basis. They're taking lives, taking the experience, necessary experience that those animals need to gain just for
I think your audio went out.
excuse me.
After you said millions of lives of chickens every morning, your audio went out.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, well, I was talking about Madam Blavatsky's article where she talked about the rise of the sun.
Mhm.
Hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of chicken or cows or pigs are being slaughtered at the rise of each sun in order to feed people around the world, and she felt that that wasn't necessary, and that it was a terrible thing that the human race came to do, and a lot of times they was killing unnecessarily just for profit, just to have just to make profit, not to really feed people. But it's a good article. You just do a search engine, just go to one of the search engines and you can pull it up. And it will bring you to tears if you have any type of sensibility, the way she, phrase and lay things out for our understanding. And that's H.P. Blavatsky. Any other questions, Dwayne?
That was the only one emailed to us. Let's see if anyone in the chat has any questions. So as I mentioned earlier, as we continue our discussion on life after death in the various realms of consciousness, I wanted to take a quick step back to review the mystic constitution of man and the vehicles of expression that we utilize, so that as when we go a little bit into the life on the realms and the realms of consciousness themselves, we can connect the dots and see exactly how those realms affect us and how we move through them. In previous discussions, especially when we're talking about the chakra system, we looked at the chakras and described them as both vortex centers and as realms of existence or realms of consciousness. And so as we continue our discussion, we'll talk about, like I mentioned earlier, the distinction between the various realms and the realms that apply to various levels of evolution. For example, the realms of the masters, the realms of basic man, the realms of the various kingdoms, like the animal kingdom, mineral, and so forth. So this diagram is titled The Mystic Constitution of Man. and it is in the shared folder. And I'll be jumping between this one and this diagram, the source, formation, and activity of consciousness. And which this is also in the Google Drive shared folder. And the reason I've been moving back and forth between them is this one, this source diagram graphically represents everything stated in the Mystic Constitution. So you'll notice that in many of, or really in all of the diagram and lecture notes, Nehemiah designs them to appeal to many different learning styles or learning modalities. So you'll have, like, for example, in this one, discussion of man, less illustration and more text to help explain and get the process, to explain what's happening and to get the message across to the student, if that is their particular learning style, with illustrations to help visualize information presented. And then there's also diagrams like this one, where it's less text, but more graphic representation, again, to help better visualize and digest the information presented. It's the same information, but presented in different ways to help all students, irrespective of their learning style or which one appeals better to them, to learn and to digest this information. And so today, as I'm going through these diagrams, I'm going to jump back and forth to help break up the text sections, but also to help everyone to understand the information that's presented. And then build upon that as we move into a more detailed discussion about the realms of consciousness. All right. Now, as I'm going through this, do feel free to post any questions or comments you have in the chat. It doesn't necessarily have to relate to the material discussing in the handouts. It could be a question, any question on metaphysics, mysticism, the occult, what have you, occult science, and what have you, and we'll do our best to answer those questions. Or you can ask any question you want on the material that we're covering. I'm happy to answer for those for you as well. So last time we left off with a discussion on the realms of consciousness, right? I believe we looked at this diagram, which relates those realms to a particular psychic center. Or actually, I think I did not cover this one, and I was going to use this one for next time. I think the one I did cover was this one, yeah. So we finished off with the path of life beyond death, just briefly looking at the 7 upper chakras and this illustration here in the middle. And I remember saying that we were going to go into more detail about this one at the next session, which would be this session. As I mentioned earlier, I decided, well, let me review the Mystic Constitution so that we'll have a better understanding of how this process of the discarding of the physical body and the astral body happens, why it happens, and what exactly happens to the consciousness as it moves through this initiation of death and then back into the reincarnatory cycle that we go through on this earth. This should be in the shared folder as well, entitled Life on the Planets. I realized that I actually, when I was going through my notes and preparing for today, I have a couple of versions of this collection of handouts called Life on the Planets. So if what's in the shared folder does not match up exactly with this handout, this one is 14 pages. I think my previous version was 12 pages. I took some pages out of that my previous version, added some more. So if it is not exact same one, let me know, and I will swap it for this one. Or I may actually, as I was preparing for this one, I saw a couple, the order wasn't correct in the way that the information should flow. I wanted to maybe want to add some more. So there may be a version 3 coming soon. With that, let's take a look at the Mystic Constitution. The Absolute conceptually represents the highest expression of God that is unmanifested, because it has no beginning nor ending, and becomes the pure and formless ground of being from which creation and manifestation arise. Therefore, the spirit of man by default is also unmanifested, and becomes the all-knowledge space, the point of consciousness, and divine source of power for the soul. That unmanifested existence is the Absolute, or God, which is often described as infinite, omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. This infinite endless potential becomes the power source of the universe and all its life forms, from the macro to the micro. So what's being described here is number 1 in the illustration. The unmanifested creator of the universe, and you'll see that referred to in ancient teachings as the Shiva, as mentioned here, or the creator. Or additionally, the Absolute, or God's endless potential of power, complete silence, complete stillness, complete darkness, with absolute potential, a background of unmanifested endless potential, which acts as a source and substance for all manifested creation. It is the all-knowledge space and source of endless potential. Now, from that spirit comes the soul. And I know I'm skipping over some steps here, like an example, the Vak and so on and so forth. But remember, this is just a brief overview to have a much more detailed study of this. And I invite you to review the lectures on the Mystic Constitution of Man in our playlist. The soul is manifested from the spirit, a divine spark of God. For reasons unknown, the Absolute decided to involve a part of itself in a manifested periodical state of being. This manifested aspect of its being exists in various states of matter, operating in multiple layers of motion and time in order to gain experience. All right, so that's 2. The spirit moves, manifests its vehicle of expression, the soul, that is the manifested body for spirit, or a traveling body. So that at this point 2 and 3, where a portion of the unmanifested becomes manifested, or Shiva releases the Vak, and represents its Shakti, which is the manifested. And then that is the first aspect, or the traveling body here. The soul follows the directives of the spirit, and it pulls on the creative substances of the universe to build itself an indestructible body layered in multiple levels of consciousness, to gain experience in countless cycles of incarnations. This indestructible body is the auric body. It is the personal body for the soul of man. The auric body then creates an envelope of divine substance that feeds all vehicles of expression utilized by the soul to gain experience in reincarnation cycles. All incarnated bodies exist in cycles within the auric body, which acts as the envelope of matter that sustains the bodies or vehicles of expression. Okay, so this paragraph here is key to our understanding of the realms of consciousness and a life after death. So for last time when we looked at, do I still have it queued up here? Yes. So last time when we looked at this diagram, we talked about the initiation of death, and you'll see here in these clouds, the physical body discarded, the astral body discarded, i.e. the various vehicles of expression that we utilize in our level of at our level, of evolution. Although the physical and astral body are discarded upon the initiation of death, the auric body persists throughout all incarnations. So therefore, it is key to understand this paragraph here, because it allows us to gain a greater understanding about the process after initiation of death. And why do we need to have an understanding of the process of initiation of death? Because here in this paragraph, there are two tracks that are presented. The first track is for those with a knowledge of life after this, and then the second track is those with no knowledge of life after death. Having that knowledge and understanding of, first of all, your mystic constitution, who you really are as spirit manifested as a soul moving throughout many incarnations to gain experience and to one day evolve back as conscious gods, makes a huge difference in your transition process after the initiation of death, as opposed to someone with no knowledge of that process or of their identity or of limited spiritual advancement or development. In fact, this knowledge is so important, and this initiation of this process is so important that for in the Aetherial Society, Dr. Sri Yogiriji George King went out of his way to set up a special benefit for members who, upon going through the initiation of death, will be granted assistance to help them move through that process. So it's a very, and as we go into more detail about it, we'll talk about how it is that so many different agencies, both terrestrial and beyond, are involved in this process because it is very important. And so the more knowledge that we have regarding this process, the better it will be for us, both in this and in subsequent incarnations. Is there anything you want to add, Nehemiah, or correct?
No, it's all laid out there.
Yeah. Okay. So we have the manifested existence, the spirit manifesting its vehicle of expression, the soul manifesting its vehicle, the auric body, or I believe it is in theosophical teachings, they call it the auric unit. And then within that auric unit, we have these various levels or layers. And if you look in the center of this illustration here, you'll find a familiar illustration of the Shushumna and the various psychic centers. All right, let's continue on. The absolute as Shiva releases a divine sonic vibration that mobilizes the Shakti. All right, so the absolute as Shiva releases a divine, let me change this one. Sonic vibration, sorry, as a Shakti. The Shakti becomes a substance and the power of the universe, sustaining all life forms within it. Everything in the universe is built from that Shakti, the substance of God. Shiva is the ultimate creator, while Shakti, being a product of the original divine sonic vibration, is the creation. All right, so here, Shiva, creator, and then the creation, Shakti. This Shakti then creates a cosmic matrix of modified Shakti that becomes the substances and bodies for the universe. The galaxies, solar system, suns, planets, and moons. These Mahabindus become the celestial distributors for expanding life and power throughout creation. And it is that Shakti that is pushed down, remember from our previous discussions of the chakras and the nadis. It is that Shakti that is pushed down, Shushumna. And once that is everyone able to hear and see me clearly? Is there any?
Yeah, if you can, I don't know if you can make it a little, if you can just expand your window a little bit. If you can make the screen a little bigger. Oh, no, that's fine. That's good. All right, thanks.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, the voice is going in and out on my side.
But I can hear him clearly, though. I can hear him clearly.
It's the screen. Sometimes your screen freeze. Maybe it's on my side. I don't know.
Might be on your side. So guys, all right, just going back. If you remember Shushumna, through Shushumna, and before we looked at the layers of Shushumna, so you can refer back to previous classes to get more information on that. But that Shakti is pushed down, Shushumna, mapping out the realms of consciousness, the psychic centers, and then once it reaches that equilibrium point at the base of the spine for our level, the terrestrial, for the human level of evolution, it finds its equilibrium point at the Mulahara, or the base of the spine, coils itself in a 3.5 knot, thereby going into a Shiva state. And it is there in which the formation of self-consciousness is expressed and where the human level or humanoid level of evolution begins. So let's look at the vehicles of expression. Remember, after the organized field of modified Shakti, we already have the soul, manifested body for the spirit. And then the soul manifests the auric body. And to see the auric body, it is that the vehicle of the auric body that the soul uses to gain experience and move throughout the subtle and gross realms. And then within that auric body, there are these organized fields of modified Shakti we talked about in the previous paragraph over here, the matrix of modified Shakti. And it is that organized field of modified Shakti that not only creates our bodies, but all the bodies for the universe, as mentioned earlier, like the galaxies, solar systems, suns, planets, etc. Now, in our case, because remember, this is the mystic constitution of man, and then the majority of our teachings, well, all of the teachings of the National Mystic Knowledge Center, stem from the trunk of the mystic constitution of man. And so that is our core teachings, and this is how Nehemiah formulated our methodology in order to help us to better understand and grasp these ancient teachings. So every time we look at the macro scale of the creation itself, at least in our illustrations, in our teachings, we always bring it back to that mystic constitution of our expression. From here, we build about the mental bodies, in referring to the vehicles of expression, because in the auric substance, we do have the chakra system, the nadi system, the kundalini, which, when I mentioned earlier, when the Shakti is pushed all the way down and to that Shiva state, that kundalini aspect is revealed. The 4 states of sound, we talked about that last time, and the nadi systems in the outer flow. The vehicles of expression now are the mental bodies, the pranas, etheric, astral, and the physical bodies. The mental bodies are the several levels and patterns of Chitta Shakti, material pulled from the cosmos to form a limited body of consciousness to undergo various experience cycles. The mental bodies consist of a supra-conscious mind, superconscious mind, subconscious mind, and a conscious mind, all of which are used to shape and mold both the subtle and gross energies of matter. The etheric body is a body made from the higher subtle energies and matter configured from the upper energy patterns of the chakras situated above the solar plexus. And we'll go more into that a little bit later. Astral body is a subtle body made from the subtle energy and material configured from the chakras below the heart chakra. This is the body has a tendency to interact with the physical body, manifesting as emotional energy or distorted mental energies. And the physical body, the gross body constructed to house all aspects of man's mystic constitution. So if you remember, this diagram that we looked at, if it was not last session, it was probably the session before that. But I believe it was last session, though. We talked about, as it just read in that paragraph, the etheric and the astral and the physical bodies, and how, as I mentioned in the paragraph, from the heart center upwards, the higher etheric realms, the energy from these realms go into the construction of the etheric body. From the solar plexus downwards, you have the three basic general astral realms, and it is energy from these realms which go about constructing the gross physical, the astral body. And then the body of the gross and the physical body, the gross physical body, is also using energy from these lower realms to construct itself and is used to move throughout all the mystic bodies. So again, this handout itself is in the shared Google Drive folder, so you can download that and study it at your leisure. The subtle magnetic layers of the auric body, the body of the soul. We talked about the etheric, we talked about the astral, talked about the physical. Now, these various layers construct the total auric unit or auric body, and those layers being the nada auric layer, the mental auric layer is followed here by these numbers. 3, the pranic. Number 4, the etheric. And you see the etheric layer, number 4, is a prominent bold line. Number 5, the astral. Number 6, the bone and bone marrow auric layer. 7, the blood, tissue, and organs auric layer. And then 8, the physical body and expression points auric layer. And all of these layers operate in conjunction to allow us at our present level of evolution to move through various experience cycles. But notice this again in the etheric layer is emboldened, as we looked at a little bit ago. The layers 5 through 8 are discarded upon the initiation of death. But look at all the layers that continue onward as we move through these experience cycles. So you can, if you really think about and look at it, you can see how so we'll get to next, not only the impurity traits, or there was another illustration diagram talking about the samskaras, well, the positive and negative samskaras. Negative samskaras referred to as the impurity traits, and then the positive samskaras as the spiritual traits. And we talked about how those samskaras embed themselves in the aura. And as we move through our experience cycles, the deeper embedded samskaras travel along with us to be expressed at some future time, depending on the circumstances, environment, mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical conditions that bring it about. Okay. I don't think I included a discussion about some skaras in this one, in this handout. But we do in previous classes go in detail about the impurity traits. But to keep that in mind, because we're in each subsequent life, we're really not what they call a tabula rasa or a blank slate. We come into each incarnation, bringing all of the accumulated experience, mental traits, and so forth with us, and we carry onward with each life. And depending on the actions that we take in the present life or the current life, have far-reaching consequences, really mold and shape our future lives. So you can kind of begin to understand why positive karmic actions like service and spiritual development are stressed, because even if we do not see the results of our practices, for example, in Raja Yoga, the first limbs of Raja Yoga, restraint, proper thinking, proper speech, and so on, so forth. Even if we don't see the immediate results of them in our current life, those samskaras will express themselves, either positive or negative, in future lives, and thereby shape our evolutionary journey forevermore. Expressing themselves at the higher realms of consciousness are the heart center, throat center, and the Christ center, Kai Chakra. And up here, we represented the crown. The Christ representing, or is referred to as the command center. And at the throat center, the manifestation of life through the fourth aspect of consciousness, or the physical realm. At the heart center, you have the organization and utilization of the mind and vital energies to house the intelligent life in a series of subtle bodies. Now remember, it is the heart and upwards where we have expressions of the higher realms or the etheric realms. But the lower realms of consciousness, i.e. the astral realms, you'll notice that it is here where the impurity traits are embedded in the aura. And this is why you'll hear often Nehemiah refer to the astral or the lower realms as distortion, because it is these distortions or these negatives and scar, these impurities, which distort or scar the aura and really hold us back, such as expressed here at the very base, lower the spine, Muladhara chakra, the formation of self-consciousness. It is there that desire, anger, greed, delusion, etc. are expressed or embedded into the aura. The sex center, you have, pride, attachment, passion, malice, hatred, jealousy. It is there where it is expressed. And at the solar plexus, again, you have selfishness, fear, possession, deceit, envy. All these impurity traits are expressed, i.e., in the lower conscious level. And when we give into these impurities, we are suppressing, we are limiting, we are pressing down our consciousness and really limiting our existence, our expression in these lower realms. These character impurities are the buildup of energy residues from the thoughts and actions of countless reincarnations on the physical and subtle worlds. These energy residues have settled or embedded itself within the several layers of the auric bodies. So, what does that mean? What is this implying? That these negative traits, these impurities, these distortions, once embedded into the aura from the accumulation of countless thoughts and actions from previous reincarnations, are continued to be carried forward and affect us and hinder us in future incarnations until those traits, those samskaras, are burnt up and cast aside, thereby no longer distorting our auric field and allowing us to evolve and advance higher and higher in the realms of consciousness. So when we're taught to engage in mantra japa, for example, there's many other as part of the practices that help with this. But when we engage in mantra japa for the functions of spinning the layers of the aura in a centrifugal type fashion to push the heavier, denser distortions or impurities in the aura to the valence levels of the aura, the outer layers of the aura, and burn those impurity traits up, as opposed to letting them sit and linger and fester and grow within the aura to be manifested later on as dis-ease or other type of ailment within not just the physical, but throughout the other auric bodies. We were taught to actively take over our evolution, through mantra japa, prayer, service, and so forth, thereby turning ourselves into points of consciousness, as the name describes, under active direction of the soul to move ourselves and to advance ourselves throughout our evolution. I think I'll skip this one. Okay. Let's go a bit deeper into the auric body. Because again, this is the body that we move through countless experience cycles with. It persists throughout really all of our evolution. And as we go higher and higher beyond the, well, I don't know, Nehemiah, do we continue to move through this same auric body as we move through, like, say, interplanetary and so on and so forth, those levels of evolution?
According to our information, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Remember what the Vedas and the Upanishads and even Dr. George King, when he described it, he said that an adept have an aura slightly larger than the average person.
Mm-hmm.
But a avatar or bodhisattva, they have no aura.
Right.
By that, he meant that an ascended master, Avatar, Ascended Master, Bodhisattva, they pull in the auric body and utilize the full use of the auric body in order to enhance any physical structure they might be moving in or operating in.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't waste any energy. You know, they live in that auric body becomes consciously driven by them because of super conscious, their super conscious mind, because they are in control of their super conscious mind.
But is it that same auric body at the, like, say, Saturnian, solar, and so on, or is it?
Of course it is. It's still the same substance because they're building on it. They're making it better. They tuning it and making it create, you know, pulling in more of the universal energy on levels that we can't even imagine. So, and then you got to remember, a Saturnian person is they have pulled in all their soulmates, everyone that was connected to them. So the auric body that in on a very basic level is probably, I don't know, 100,000 individuals, 100,000 parts of their own self that have came together in order to form one body, one entity. So, but it's that they didn't lose nothing, because you don't throw away anything. You just build on it and modify it.
Oh boy. If you guys watching on YouTube, can you let me know if you are still receiving? On my end, it looks like I've lost internet, or I'm not able to connect to.
I can still hear you.
On YouTube?
No, not. Let me see on YouTube.
Because I'm not able to pull up anything. But I'm still on Zoom. Okay. One moment, please. Are still receiving?
Yeah, I can hear on YouTube.
Okay. All right, so guys on YouTube, I apologize if you've been sending comments or questions. I cannot see YouTube, but apparently we're still broadcasting. So
I don't see no comments. Can
no comments, anything? Okay.
Janelle said that she can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I don't see that comment at all, so I'm not. All right, I mean,
my internet is choppy anyway. I need to get another extender.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's from my understanding, that auric body is with us throughout involution and evolution.
Okay. All right. I am back in. All right. And Nico. Oh, good evening to you too. Sorry, I didn't I don't know Greek. Sorry. Okay. I'm back up. Good. All right, so let's continue with the auric body. And then after this, we'll move into consciousness and four states of sound. And I think with that, we'll have a pretty good overview of the mystic constitution to help us dive deeper into life after death and the realms of consciousness. The soul creates the auric body out of highly potent and concentrated Shakti power. It is designed to continuously pull on this great power by the positioning of the Bindu vortex centers. The Bindu vortex centers are the major streams of consciousness, or the major chakras. Excuse me. The auric body is the traveling body for the soul, and it is virtually indestructible. It functions for eons as an instrument to aid in gaining experience cycles, as Nehemiah just described. The auric body becomes the primary vehicle of expression to gain experience through involution to evolution. It becomes the initial atmosphere of the soul's vehicle of expression. The auric atmosphere is a source of etheric Mahabhuta substance and the five major pranas. What was I going to say? I just forgot. Anyway, tightly fitted in the auric body, you will find the following: chakra system, the Kundalini and Nadic system, the mental bodies, the major auric fields or auric layers, like we looked at previously, the five major and minor pranas, or the pranic bodies, the etheric bodies, astral and physical body. The subtle auric body or unit is a series of subtle magnetic fields that exist on the etheric, astral, and subtle gross physical levels. These auric magnetic fields of substance are designed to hold patterns of consciousness for the soul. It has the ability to receive and transfer mental intelligence to various aspects of consciousness within the auric fields of operations. They're also designed to receive and close and transfer the signature patterns of various subtle vital energies in time cycles. The auric body acts as a manifested pool of endless potential, established by the soul to pull down on the universal mind substance and Shakti, or power, modifying it into vehicles of expression. And if you go back to the Metaphysics 101 series, you'll hear Nehemiah say it several times: everything is Shakti, or everything is modified Shakti. The auric body is used by the soul as vehicles to create the background patterns for building the correct proportion, subtle and gross vehicles of expression, with the exact karmic framework for the countless experience cycles needed. In other words, the auric body is manifested to operate on all planes of existence. You'll also hear in previous lectures Nehemiah referring to the auric unit as a, let me say this correct, a devic laboratory. Is correct, right? If you mentioned it.
Right. Yes.
in which, as stated in that previous sentence, or sentence just read, it works out the correct proportion, subtle and gross physical expressions, or we can say energies, in the exact karmic framework for the countless experience cycles needed. So now this means that the auric body is in full operation on every level of consciousness or realms throughout the 108 chakras within the human auric structure. I say this to point out that every chakra is not only a level of consciousness or vortex center of power, but a total realm of existence. The auric body is locked into all these vortex centers of powers, chakra, that are also realms of existence, representing levels of consciousness with such complexity, it's almost incomprehensible. The soul builds this auric body of substance by pulling on the Nada Shakti powers of the universe and configuring it through the universal solar and planetary mind and pranic energies projected mainly by the Mahabindus of this solar system. Each major planetary body of the solar system releases or projects a certain quality of mind energies and vital energies. The main flow of these subtle energies comes from the primary Mahabindu of our solar system, the mighty sun, a massive compaction of potential creative energies. The sun radiates large quantities of subtle energies. They are absorbed by the planetary bodies of the Mabindus of the solar system, reconfigured and then redistributed back into the solar system as an added value for life streams residing throughout the system. These two paragraphs we just read, very brief description of the solar system, the Mahabindus, but a detailed write-up and explanation of this is provided in, I think, 7, 8, and 9 of the chapters, chapter 7, 8, 9 of the Ancient Language of the Soul, the first book authored by Sir Nehemiah Davis. I highly recommend picking up a copy of the Ancient Language of the Soul. Goes into great detail of not only mantra, but the entire process from the absolute all the way down to the terrestrial level, to our level of conscious expression. And in the on our YouTube channel, there's a playlist where I actually read through the entire text and do a brief discussion about it. So I invite you to go back, take a look at or pick up a copy of the Ancient Language of the Soul on Amazon, or go to our website and you can purchase it directly from us. And as well, follow along with that study session where I read through the book and went into a bit of a discussion about that text with the author himself. Let's see, do we have any questions or comments? So far? Okay. So the mystic constitution of man, again, in summation, starts with the spirit, the I am of man, his divine spark of God. To the soul, the I of man, a manifested body for the spirit, auric body, a traveling body for the soul. The chakra system, the 108 vortex centers connected to the universe. The Kundalini signatures, the dormant Shakti as a vehicle of consciousness. The Nadi system, number 6, several 100,000 subtle pathways of energies. It creates the geometric matrix within the auric bodies that promote the layers of consciousness. 7 dimensional bodies, the 4 levels of consciousness being the supra-conscious mind, the superconscious mind, the subconscious mind, and conscious mind. Then we have the minor auric fields, the auric substance of each expression, the 5 major and minor pranas, the formation of the vital energies within the body, the etheric body, subtle bodies made from the upper chakras, the astral body, subtle bodies made from the lower chakras, and the physical body, and that is the gross physical bodies. And we talked about earlier the layers of the physical body. All right, so we'll finish up our review of the mystic constitution by let's say either reading through the 4 states. Sound, although we mentioned it briefly as I was reading through earlier diagrams. So now let's actually go into a bit more detail about it, so that again, when we go back, I think next session or subsequent sessions, we'll do a couple of sessions on life after death and the realms of consciousness. And I believe with this, we should have a pretty good base to look at the realms of consciousness and life after death, as well as future subjects as we continue with the open discussion and the lecture series and so forth. But again, if there's any confusion or this is all new to you, I'd invite you to review earlier classes, videos, lectures, like the Metaphysics 101 or many other lectures where we specifically talk about the mystic constitution of man, or even on Raja Yoga and some other subject matters. And reviewing those lectures, studying those lectures will really benefit you as you continue on your spiritual practice and development, not only in this life, but in every life hereafter. And then you can also visit our website, mysticknowledge.org, where there are a plethora of ebooks made available, organized by author. You can download those for free and study those as well. And particularly, like, for example, the Yogi Ramacharaka series. I am generating audiobooks for that, so we can move back in our study sessions and move through those. And other texts, available, some Man Blavatsky books there. Nehemiah mentioned Man Blavatsky earlier when he was answering the first question today. You can download some of her texts as well, Arthur Avalon, and so on and so forth. So do visit our website, mystickknowledge.org, and take advantage of those free resources made available. So within the ancient teachings of yogis, there is the science of sound or mantra Sastra, which sheds some light on the formation of man's consciousness and its levels of operations. Now, you'll hear repeated often in many of Nehemiah's lectures him referring to sound as consciousness. So keep that in mind as we look at these four states of sound, which goes into the formation of man's consciousness, and you understand why he correlates sound with consciousness. Man's consciousness on the physical and subtle planes of existence requires a manifestation of four distinct states of subtle sound vibrations from the soul's vehicle of consciousness known as Kundalini. The soul of man that expresses the will of the spirit pushes the Shakti power, now Sushumna, down Sushumna into a 3.5 knot called Kundalini, which reveals its essence, Shiva, by moving into a dormant state and releasing a creative holy sound that manifests itself with four distinct sounds, which produce, one, the various states of consciousness. Remember, states, not levels, states of consciousness. The pranic positions and the levels of operation. The four states of sound are known as para sound. This is the supreme sound as pure potentiality in the divine will of the Absolute, arising from the motion of Shiva and Shakti. Pasyanti sound. This is visible sound of the mental images prior to thought. This is the sound that arises from the subtle level of sound. It graduates from the first state of sound into the power of consciousness that forms the mental images prior to thought. Now that line there, the first sentence, the visible sound of mental images prior to thought, may be confusing to some of you. I would refer you back with further clarification on that to the lectures that Nehemiah has given on the mystic constitution of man. Specifically, we look at the physical vehicle of expression, the gross physical body, and the functionings of the various organ systems. There's a lecture by Dr. George King called Man's Mind, where the discussion about mind is given, as well as the purposes and functions of the brain, for example, as a transmission set. Nehemiah goes into a bit more detail than I believe Dr. George King was allowed to go into at that time, as how thoughts move through the psychic centers, how they move along the spinal column, and how those thoughts are generated from the psychic centers, receiving through the transmission set to the mind, of the brain, and move, and then allowed to expand how they expresses themselves, how we expressed ourselves in the physical plane. So do go back and take a look at those lectures, as well as the ones available from the Theory of Society given by Dr. George King, and you'll get a better understanding of what that means of these mental images prior to thought. Okay, James has interesting comments here. His hot peppers never fail to ruin my celibacy. I had some last night for the first time in a week. Sure enough, I relapsed. Some of the world's hottest, in fact. was it whose text was it? I think it was well, not Vivekananda. There's a text on I can't don't remember, on celibacy, where is it Shivananda? Who was it that wrote the text on celibacy? Was it Shivananda?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. You're breaking up for a second, but I hear you. Yeah, you're breaking up really bad. I can't hear you.
Talking about the Brahmachara?
Yes, the Brahmachara, yes.
That was Swami
Sivananda.
book on that. I think it's on our web.
Yes, it is. You can download it on a website. So, because you mentioned hot peppers, James, you can go back into one of our lectures. Oh, sorry, Nehemiah, what were you saying?
Kundalini yoga.
Yeah.
Where he say when you're doing certain practices to stay away.
Yeah, to stay away from certain foods, and the reason for that, if you remember, James, we were talking about the gunas, the sattvic, rajasic, and tamastic, sattvic, rajas, and tamas gunas, these qualities of energy,
or more specific, mind.
Mind, yes, I was going to go that.
Because they regulate the mind.
Right.
So the tamas bring you to an inert type level of mind substance. The rajas bring about desire, and the sattvic brings about highly quality of mind. And when you're practicing spiritual to not and spices or whatever, because it's a
yeah. You went out after pathways, and it's the path. I'm sorry.
After when?
After path, it's the path or a quality of mind. You're saying? Yeah, your audio is really bad.
I know, because my internet is choppy.
Okay.
You hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So what do you say now? I went out after when? When
you were talking about sattvic, and then it went out because you mentioned the other two.
Yeah, I was saying that the spicy foods are foods of passion. Mm-hmm. And so it raises certain levels of mind quality in the body. Yeah. So when you're doing certain, refrain from a lot of peppers and all type of spices. You have to put some type of restraint on it in eating if you don't want to be regulated by food, because it brings about certain desires.
And James, that goes back to the first question that opened up today's session, regarding vegetarianism and the diet. So in that Kundalini Yoga book and the Brahmacharya book, I will give you the same warning that Nehemiah gave to us, is to separate the culture from the teachings as you're studying these texts, and just really try and pull out the essence of the teaching and what's being taught. But it's particularly like in Brahmacharya, for example, in Kundalini Yoga, where Sivananda breaks down different types of foods and the gunic quality of those foods, and says if you're working on establishing and maintaining yourself in Brahmacharya, these are the foods that's recommended you stay away from. These are the foods recommended that you you eat and use, because of, like what Nimat is talking about, the mind that is stimulated by these different types of foods.
Yeah, the one-on-one metaphysical, somebody just texted me, the one-on-one metaphysical series is on the Mystic Knowledge YouTube channel. Can you put that channel in the thing, the address?
Oh, okay.
In the
They text your phone, or they text you
yeah,
through?
they text my phone.
Oh,
So can you put it inside
in the chat? All right.
so that they'll know the YouTube screen? The Mystic, it's Mystic Knowledge. It's Mystic Knowledge YouTube. I think if you just type Mystic Knowledge YouTube, it should come up.
Yeah.
And then you could tap into the can you hear?
Yes, I can hear. I'm going to pull it up right now.
Hello?
Okay, so if you go to our YouTube channel, under playlists, and you scroll down for a bit, you'll see on the second to last line, well, depending on if you're looking on your phone, it might be laid out a little differently, or the device. You'll see Metaphysics 101. Then after this one, like I mentioned, several classes before, we'll move into the 21 lessons. Not all of them, because you can see there's about 44 videos there. So I'll pick some select ones, and I'll let everyone know before we go into that. And we'll cover several others, like the metaphysical series for beginners, given by one of the other members of the IMKC, Mr. Bernard Johnson. I'll cover several of these earlier lectures, as well as it'll take me some time, but I'll get to it. Release transcripts of some of these earlier videos, especially the ones where before we had switched to the better audio. And so that's you can actually go to www.mysticknowledge.org videos.mystickknowledge.org, and it'll take you directly to our YouTube channel. If that redirect is still working, so I made that a few years ago, so I think it's still working. And you can also do meetup.mystickknowledge.org, and it'll take you directly to our meetup page where we announce all of our classes and sessions. Right. So James says, I am plant-based, but I would clean things up. So yes, even if you're plant-based, we're taught that the different fruits, vegetables, whatever, have different qualities. So I think we're told to, like you mentioned, to stay away from hot peppers. I think we're also told to stay away from onion. If you look in the text in the Kundalini Yoga and the Brahmacharya book, I think there are several charts where Swami Shivananda actually breaks down the types of foods and gives you an idea of which ones, even if they're not listed in the text, you're given a good idea of how to differentiate between the different, which ones are good for you to take, which are not, depending on what you want to accomplish.
And the Ayurveda.
Yes, Ayurveda too, yeah.
Food and healing, that teaches you as well. But it's very important. The Brahmacharya teachings, because it gives you a lot of tips if you want to practice celibacy. It gives you a lot of tips and a lot of ways to refrain from that, and to guide the mind when the mind goes astray. So that's very important if you're going to practice that.
Okay. Nice. Next, we have Madhyama sound. This is the intermediate level of sound as manifested thought. It is a level where the visible sound, pasyanti, graduates to manifested thought forms with continuous motion. It is here where this level of sound builds motion before it solidifies into gross audible sound. And then finally, we have Vikari sound. This manifested sound. This is manifested sound as a gross, coarse, audible sound. This is the final step in the 4 levels of graduated sound. It is the solidification of sound in gross intelligent form. At this level of consciousness exists on several realms of existence: the casual or superconscious realm, the etheric realms, the mental realms, the astral realms, and the physical realm. And so then here we have on the illustration, the mystic man. On the right-hand side, you have the evolutionary path, and on the left-hand side, involution. In the involution, you have 4, 3, 2, 1, meaning the Vikari sound at the throat, sound, gross aspect, thought to sound, subtle bodies increased by gross. You move down to 3, Madhyama sound, subtle aspect, formation of subtle bodies, to Pasyanti sound, and it's the color corresponding to the respective centers. Pasyanti sound, first movement, transference of power to a new level operation, and then one para sound, unmanifested, motionless sound. On the right hand, you have moving upwards, evolution from the Muladhara on upwards, the formation of self-conscious, the sex center being the seat of self-conscious, solar plexus center, the major intake, exchange, and transference of power. The heart center, the organization and utilization of the mind and vital energy to house intelligent life. Then you have the throat center, the manifestation of life through the 4th aspect of consciousness, the physical realm. And then finally, at the Christ center, the command center. All right, so with that, I believe we can better understand the realms of consciousness, and particularly life beyond the initiation of death. So we'll look at those in a bit more detail over the next coming open discussion sessions, as well as address any questions or comments that any of you may have. If there's any final questions or comments, or anything you might want to add before we close today's session?
No.
Oh, there was something I remembered. So earlier, just really quickly, in a couple of lectures, it was my first time hearing it, so I please forgive me if I'm mistaken. But it was my first time, but Nehemiah was the first one to refer to the auric unit as an atmosphere for me. And he explained why he chose to use that to help us understand what the auric unit is, and he tied it to the atmosphere of the earth, that we live in this envelope of akasa, or in the atmosphere. We live within the earth, and the envelope of the earth is atmosphere on the earth, in the same way that we live within this atmosphere, within the aura. And so that really helped me to understand, or better understand, what this auric unit is and how it relates to me. It's not just some colors that seem to emanate from and surround the physical body, or not a physical body with an aura. I am an auric unit with several bodies, including a physical body. And within this auric atmosphere, I exist. And we can either clean up or pollute that atmosphere in the same way we can either, pollute the atmosphere of Earth and affect all life on the Earth. If we pollute our auric atmosphere, it affects our life and our lives going forward. So that was what I wanted to say about when we looked at that part. That's a really good tool to help us understand exactly what the aura is, its function, and how we exist in and through it. Okay. So any last?
Another good spin on that too. Understanding. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Another in the whole, they have Paul have our being within God or whatever, or and the mystics look at that as we live and move and have our being within the house of God. The house of God is the aura.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because the spirit created the soul, and the soul created the vehicle of expression for the benefit of the spirit to take care of directions of the spirit. And the spirit is the divine spark of God. And when Jesus said, me and my Father is one, when he said that when he spoke about his Father, he was talking about God within him, because he knew that the spirit, the divine spark of God, and God itself is one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think was it Mars Sector 6 or was it Master Theorist that gave the one? Oh no, it was they gave the one life.
Was it Saturnian who gave that one?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was I can't remember right now.
Or the one energy.
The one energy, yeah. And it so it misinterpreted when Jesus and all the great masters heard back to they being connected to God, or you had to go through them, because you have to go through in order to communicate to God, because the spirit is God, is an aspect of God, and the auric body is that indestructible body that take you on the journey through evolution, which into manifestation and out of manifestation. So that's another way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. Thank you. So if there's no final questions or comments, then let us close today's session with reciting the New Lord's Prayer. If I can find it. If you have any additional questions or comments, you can, as mentioned earlier, you can email them to us. And we can answer those for you either via email, or you can let us know if you want us to address them in a future open discussion session. Let us close with the new Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up, and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength, so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. O great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and forever. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for your kind attendance, participation. Do remember to look at our previous lectures and go to our YouTube channel. I think it's best if you sort them through playlists. Look at some of our previous lectures and studies materials. Usually links to the notes are available in the description of those videos. Or you can also, if you're looking through the open discussion series, you can find a link to our Google Drive folder where you can download the notes we've used over the past couple of years in these open discussions. If you have any further questions, you can email them to us. We'll be glad to answer those for you. Or if you're interested in joining us for our weekly 12 Blessings services, again, send us an email and I will send you an invitation to our services. Otherwise, have a wonderful week and we will see you next time. Take care.